Hello everyone, welcome to our grade 9 mathematics class. For today's lesson, we will be discussing about graphing quadratic functions. But before that, let's have first a review about quadratic function. We all know that quadratic function is in the form of y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, where ax squared is the quadratic term, bx is the linear term, and the c is the constant term. So ngayon, meron tayo ditong mga question, then we will identify which is the quadratic term, linear term, or the constant term. So first, what is the linear term of y is equal to 4x squared minus 3? Okay, so the linear term is 0x. Since wala tayong linear term na nakasulat dyan, then ilalagay lang natin ay 0x. Next, what is the linear term of y is equal to x squared minus 5x? Okay, so yung ating linear term dyan ay negative 5x. Next, what is the constant term of y is equal to x squared minus 5x? Since wala tayong constant term dyan, ilalagay na lang natin siya as 0. Then the last one, can the quadratic term be 0? So, hindi. Kasi nga, kapag wala tayong quadratic term or naging 0 yung ating quadratic term, ang magiging form noon ay linear function. Now, let's have the graph of the quadratic function. So, the graph of the quadratic function is a parabola. So, a parabola can open up or down. If the parabola opens up, the lowest point is called the vertex or the minimum. Then, when a parabola opens down, the vertex is the highest point or the maximum. Note, if the parabola opens left or right, it is not a function. The standard form of the quadratic function is y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. The parabola will open up when a value is positive. Then, the parabola will open down when a value is negative. Remind students that if a is equal to 0, you would not have a quadratic function because a should not equal to 0. Now, let's talk about the axis of symmetry because parabolas are symmetric. If we draw a line down the middle of the parabola, we could fold the parabola in half. We call this line the axis of symmetry. If we graph one side of the parabola, we could reflect it over the axis of symmetry to graph the other side. Now, let's start to graph the quadratic function in the form of f of x is equal to ax squared. So, meron tayo dito, graph f of x is equal to x squared, then graph f of x is equal to 2x squared. So, meron din tayo ditong coordinate grid paper para ma-graph natin yung ating makukuha dito na x and y. So, gagawin muna natin yung ating x as negative 2, negative 1, 0, positive 1, and positive 2 para makuha natin yung value ng ating y. So, para makuha yung value ng ating y, isasubstitute lang natin itong negative 2 doon sa ating x squared. So, we have magiging negative 2 then i-square lang natin siya. Ang sagot ay we have positive 4. So, yung first na y natin ay positive 4. Then, kapag nilagay natin yung ating dot dito sa ating coordinate green paper ay nandoon siya. We have negative 2 and positive 4. Next, how about kapag negative 1 yung ating x? So, we have negative 1 square will be positive 1. So, we have positive 1 as our y. So, kapag green up ulit natin yan or nilagay natin sa ating coordinate grid paper ay nandito siya. So, we have negative 1 and positive 1. Next, we have, how about kapag 0 yung ating x dito? So, isa-substitute ulit natin siya dito sa ating x square. So, we have 0, then i-square natin siya. Ang sagot will be 0 also. So, yung ating magiging y will be 0. Then, nandoon yung ating point. Next, how about kapag positive 1 naman siya? So, we have 1 square will be also 1. So, we have 1 as the y. Then, kapag nilagay natin yung kanyang point sa ating green paper, nandoon siya. Next, we have the last one, which is 2. So, 2 square will be positive 4. So, we have y as positive 4. Then, kapag nilagay natin siya sa ating graphing paper, then, nandoon siya. Then, after that, kapag nakuha na natin yung ating mga values, then, nailagay na natin yung ating mga dots sa ating graphing paper, then, lalagyan na natin siya ng ating parabola. So, yung ating parabola opens upward. Next, doon naman tayo sa ating f of x is equal to 2x squared. So, gawin ulit natin na yung kanyang magiging x will be negative 2, negative 1, 0, positive 1, and positive 2. So, yung ating mga x ay isa-substitute lang natin doon sa ating given na 2x squared. So, unahin muna natin yung ating negative 2. So, we have negative 2 or positive 2 times negative 2, then i-square natin siya. So, we have, ito muna yung may exponent. So, negative 2 square will be positive 4 times positive 2 will be positive 8. So, yung ating value for y will be positive 8. Then, yung ating point ay nandoon siya. So, we have negative 2 and positive 8. Next, doon tayo sa negative 1. So, we have 2 times negative 1 square. So, negative 1 times negative 1 will be positive 1 times 2 will give us positive 2. So, yung ating y will be positive 2. Then, yung ating point ay nandoon. Next, how about kapag 0 yung ating x? So, we have 2 times 0 square. So, 0 square will be 0 times 2, then 0 also. So, we have 0 and 0. So, yung ating point ay nandoon. Next, doon tayo sa 1. So, we have 2. Substitute lang natin yung 1 sa ating x square. So, we have 1 times 1 will be 1. Then, 1 times 2, 2 also. So, we have y as 2. Then, yung ating point ay nandoon. Next, let's have the last one. So, 2 naman ngayon yung ating magiging x. So, we have 2 times 2. Then, i-square natin siya. So, we have 2 square will give us 4. 4 times 2 will give us 8. So, yung ating y will be 8. So, yung ating point ay nandoon siya. Then, after nating makuha yung ating mga values, then, lagay na natin siya sa ating graphing paper, then i-draw na natin ngayon yung ating parabola. Okay, so naging ganyan siya, open, upward din. So, ganun lang siya kasimple kung paano mag-graph ng ating quadratic function in the form of f of x is equal to ax squared. Now, let's have the second example. So, dito naman mag-graph tayo ng quadratic function in the form of f of x is equal to ax squared plus k. So, meron ulit tayo ditong f of x is equal to x squared. So, natapos na natin yan kanina. Then, we have here x squared minus 3. So, ito lang yung ating naiiba dito. Ito kanina ay nasolve na natin, which is magkakaroon tayo ng ganitong equation or mga dots. Then, nagkaroon tayo ng ganyang parabola. So, ngayon, ang isolve na lang natin ay yung ating x squared minus 3 para makita natin kung ano ba yung pagkakaiba ng unang example natin dito sa ating example ngayon. So, let x ulit as negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. So, kapag ganyan, itong negative 2 ulit, substitute lang natin sa ating given. So, we have negative 2 square minus 3. So, unahin natin yung may parenthesis or exponent. So, we have negative 2 square will be positive 4 minus 3, it will give us positive 1. So, yung ating point ay nandoon siya. We have negative 2 and positive 1. Next, paano naman kapag negative 1 yung ating x? So, we have negative 1 square minus 3. So, we have negative 1 square will be positive 1 minus 3, it will become negative 2. Okay, so yung y natin ay negative 2, then yung ating dot or yung ating point ay nandoon. Next, how about kapag 0 yung ating x? So, we have 0x minus 3. So, 0 square will be 0. Then, cancel na yan. Naiwan na lang ay negative 3. So, yung ating y will be negative 3. Then, yung ating point ay nandoon siya. Next, how about kapag negative or positive 1? So, we have 1 square minus 3. So, we have 1 square will become positive 1 minus 3, it will become negative 2. So, yun yung ating sagot na negative 2. Then, yung ating point will be there. Next, doon naman tayo sa positive 2. So, we have 2 square minus 3. So, we have 2 square will become 4. 4 minus 3 will become 1. So, yung ating y will be 1. Then, yung ating point ay nandoon siya. Then, after plotting the points, ay ilalagay na natin ngayon yung ating mga parabolas. So, yan yung ating parabolas for the quadratic function in the form of ax squared plus k. So, kanina nagka-dikit yung ating mga vertex or yung ito. So, dito naman sa ating second example, hindi siya nagdikit. Pero, yung isa nasa taas nung parabolang isa. So, ganun lang siya kasimple or yun yung pinagkaiba nilang dalawa. Now, let's have the third example, which is in the form of f of x is equal to a times the quantity x minus h quantity square. So, meron ulit tayo ditong given na f of x is equal to, we have x square, which is natapos na natin kanina. So, yung ating magiging table of values ay ganito. We have 4, 1, 0, 1, and 4. Then, ito yung ating mga plots, and yung ating parabola will be open upward. So, ngayon, proceed tayo dito sa ating second na given, which is f of x is equal to the quantity x plus 1 quantity square. So, yung ating magiging mga x ulit dyan ay negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. So, yan yung mga isa-substitute natin sa ating given para makuha natin yung ating mga values for y. So, let's start. So, unahin natin itong negative 2. So, we have y, since yung f of x natin is equal to y, is equal to, yung ating x is negative 2 plus 1. So, negative 2 plus 1 will be negative 1. Then, negative 1 square will become positive 1. So, yung ating y is positive 1. Then, yung ating plot ay nandoon. Negative 2 and ito yung negative 2 and positive 1. Yun. So, nandito yung ating point. Next, we have negative 1. So, we have is equal to negative 1 plus positive 1 square. So, negative 1 plus 1, it will become 0. Then, 0 square, magiging 0 lang siya. So, yung ating y is 0. Then, yung ating plot ay nandoon. Next, we have 0. Paano naman kapag 0 yung ating x? So, we have 0 plus 1 square. So, 0 plus 1. So, 0 yan. 0 plus 1 is simply 1. Then, 1 square is positive 1. So, we have 0 and 1. Then, yung ating plot ay nandoon. Next, we have positive 1. So, we have here the quantity 1 plus 1 square. So, we have 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 square, it will become 4. So, yung ating y is 4. Then, yung ating plot ay nandoon. Next, we have the last, which is 2. So, we have 2 plus 1 square. So, 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 square, it will become 9. Then, we have y as 9. Then, yung ating plot ay nandoon. So, kapag pinagdikit-dikit or pinagdugtong natin yan, we have the parabola which is opens upward. So, ngayon naman, iba na naman yung ating mga parabolas compare sa ating dalawang previous na example kanina. Now, let's have the last example in the form of f of x is equal to a times the quantity x minus h quantity square plus k. So, meron ulit tayo dito ang given na f of x is equal to x squared, which is natapos na ulit kanina. So, meron na tayo ngayon dito ng table of values and yung ating mga plot. So, yung ating parabola will look like this. Then, next, dito tayo sa ating second na given, which is f of x is equal to the quantity x minus 1 quantity square plus 1. So, let x ulit natin as negative 2, negative 1, 0, positive 1, and positive 2. So, mag-start tayo dito sa ating x na negative 2. So, we have y is equal to, we have the value of x, which is negative 2, minus 1, square, plus 1. So, negative 2 minus 1, it will become negative 3. Negative 3 square, it will become positive 9. Then, plus 1, it will become 10. Next, so yung ating y ay 10. Then yung ating plot will be there. So, eto. Next, dun tayo sa negative 1. So, we have negative 1 minus 2 or minus 1. So, minus 1 square plus 1. So, negative 1 minus 1, it will become negative 2. Negative 2 square, it will become positive 4, then plus 1, it will become 5. So, we have y as 5. Then, yung ating plot ay nandoon. Next, we have 0. So, let x as 0. So, we have 0 minus 1 square plus 1. So, 0 minus 1, it will become negative 1. Negative 1 square, it will become positive 1. Then, plus 1, it will become positive 2. So, yung ating y ay magiging positive 2. Then, yung ating plot ay nandoon. Next, we have the positive 1 as x. So, we have now 1 minus 1 square plus 1. 1 minus 1, it will become 0. Then, 0 square, then makakancel na yan. Then, naiwan na lang ay 1. So, yung ating y will be 1. Then, yung ating plot ay nandoon. Next, we have the last one, which is positive 2. So, we have now 2 minus 1 squared plus 1. It will become, so we have 2 minus 1, it will become 1. 1 square is 2 or 1. 1 square is 1. Then plus 1, it will become 2. So, yung ating y ay magiging 2. Then, yung ating plot ay nandoon. So, after plotting, ilalagay na natin yung ating parabola, which is opens upward kasi yung ating a is greater than 0. So, kung papansinin nyo, yung ating mga parabolas ngayon ay iba ulit doon sa ating mga previous example. So, ganun lang kung paano mag-graph ng ating quadratic functions. So, that's how to graph the different types of quadratic function, which is in the form of f of x is equal to ax squared, or kapag nasa form ng f of x is equal to ax squared plus k, or in the form of f of x is equal to a times the quantity x minus h quantity square, and quadratic function in the form of f of x is equal to a times the quantity x minus h quantity square plus k. So, next meeting, we will be discussing or determining the vertex axis of symmetry, direction of the graph, the maximum and minimum points without graphing. So, that ends our lesson for today. God bless everyone.